Did you know that our animal brothers and sisters, they have a state of consciousness? It's discussed in Source's book that these particular animals, these are the ones that have been around us or in proximity of us, where they've learned our speech, they've learned our language. And if you think about that, you can think about those of us who have pets. We are able to give them orders, like teach them tricks. That's understanding our language. And there are some of us who feel that because we are the dominant one, animals are lesser than us. They have lesser value than us. When that is not the case. Because when you know that everything is consciousness, everything is energy, everything is from source, how can one be less value than the other? We're all the same. There is no hierarchy. Which that is something that I didn't necessarily think about, but I knew. And so it's interesting to read that in the text. And they talk to us telepathically. They have a different understanding in the state of consciousness than we do. I recall when my dog was still here, he knew when certain people, because they sense and they understand and have a different understanding of energy. So when we feel sad or somebody needs something, they pick up on that and sense that. And I remember during a certain period of time that every time my sister would go into the restroom, my dog would sit at the door the whole time she was in there and would stay there until she came out. Once she came out, he would come back in the room with me. It's like different times. He would always be by me or my son. He was protective of my son when I brought him home from the hospital. But he would go to certain people, my mom or my sister, certain times when they needed it, because they needed that energy from him. And they loved him like everybody loved him, because he was such a beautiful, loving dog, like a smart dog. And they felt his energy. Even when my dad was sick, when my dog was just a puppy. I had two of them. And I would leave to go to work. And this is when I was living with my dad when he had cancer. And I would put them in their kennel because I didn't want my dad to have to worry about taking care of my dog. So I made sure that I fed them, took them out, brought them back in, and then, put them away while I left. But he would take them out because he enjoyed, because we did have a dog when I was younger. He would take them out because he wanted to and enjoyed them being around. Sadly enough, they ended up getting sick one time, and like real bad, where I had to like put them in like a dog hospital. Unfortunately, the one that was a tad bit smaller ended up getting sick, and his organs started failing, so I had to put him down. And the dog that I kept, Howie, was the only one that survived it. And so my dad would take him out And when I would come home from work, he would be sitting on top of the reclining chair on my dad's, like right by his head. And that's where he would sit. That's where my dad would put him because that's where he wanted to be. And he was fine. Like, he was a companion for my dad. And my dad enjoyed his company. And so it was like my dog was like a comfort for those that needed it in the moment. I even felt like he was a little sad when my dad passed. And he's traveled with me to every time I've moved. And I've had him since I had him ever since he was like 6 weeks old. So he's experienced and traveled with me, my son, and lived to be 13. And when I had to put him down, before I had to put him down, he was in the house, not really eating anymore. And then for a while at the end, he wouldn't move. And he wouldn't move. And so I called to see if the emergency center had a place for him, so he could get looked at. And I brought him in. And she told me I ended up having to, I had to put him down based on what I told her what was going on. And what was interesting was before I left home, he was not responsive. However, while him and I was in the room and the doctor left out, the vet left out, he ended up getting some energy, enough energy to look up at me, to spend time with me before I put him down. And I was talking to him and he would give me looks and I understood what he was saying and how he felt. And it was really interesting. And that was the first time I felt this different connection, like a deeper connection with him. It was like, man, you were here for a reason. And although it was sad to put him down, he knew he would always be with me in spirit. He visits me in my dreams. And so animals understand consciousness. So you see, animals do have a state of consciousness. And those that have been around us, they understand. Respect their boundaries. And don't see them as lesser than us. We are all the same, a fractal of source.